Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. It is another Thursday. Happy Thursday. I hope everyone's having a great and successful week. This episode is all about success and business and how to prepare yourself to be lucky. Yes, that is the title of the book that our guest, who is the author, is going to be talking about. Our guest is also the former CEO of Seagrams, one of the largest beverage companies out there. When he left Seagrams, he then went on to go start his own beverage company called Premier Wine and Spirits. And he has recently written this book that is going to be available to everyone out there on November 2nd. Which is, again, how to prepare yourself to be lucky. They always say, when you see that person that seems to have everything, you're like, oh, they must be so lucky. Well, yes, but they prepared themselves so they could see the opportunity to create the luck. And everyone can do this, okay? So tune into this episode. It's going to be great. If you're sitting at home or at your office, grab a piece of paper, take some notes. This episode is going to be amazing. I can't wait to sit down with somebody who's so accomplished, who is dropping the knowledge so we can all have a little more luck in our lives and lead a more successful, abundant, kick-ass lifestyle. I'm with my guest on Next to Madison today, Ed McDonnell. I am very excited to have you. How are you doing?
Very well, and yourself?
I'm doing good. So tell us about your experience running Seagrams.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Tremendous fun. I mean, what better thing could you get a first-generation Boston Irish Catholic to do than to go to work for a liquor company?
Yeah, that's true.
But I was very fortunate. Edgar Bronfman, who at that point owned the company, wanted somebody different. He took over as chairman from his family, and he needed a bit of change in management. And fortunately, he came to me and offered me the job of running the Seagram liquor business, which was the greatest experience in my life. And I was the luckiest guy in the world to get that job.
I mean, it's amazing. And it's amazing what you did, because when you came in, they were just a domestic brand, right? And under your leadership, they became global.
It was I think less than 10% of their sales were international.
Wow.
And Edgar, most wonderful guy you ever want to meet, didn't himself personally involve himself in running businesses, but he wanted people that could on their own.
So he gave you a lot of freedom to kind of do what you wanted?
Total freedom, which was wonderful. And the company was in bad straits at that point. There was no international business, really.
Yeah.
But he gave me freedom to operate the company the way I wanted to. And we had a blast together. We became the best of friends. And the company became a huge success during that period.
Yes. I mean, everybody knows Seagrams. It's such an iconic brand,
Well, the name Seagram, the brands that Seagram owned were huge.
Yeah.
We made them much bigger.
So I just kind of want to fast forward just a little bit. The liquor industry or beverage industry is so big, and you're seeing a lot of new companies enter the space. Is there any advice to somebody who has an idea for a new beverage company, like how they get noticed by somebody like a Seagrams, or how they get started and kind of break through those doors?
Well, I'm not sure of how you want me to answer that question. Again, Seagram was basically a Canadian and US based liquor company
Yes.
with a select number of brands.
Yes.
They wanted me to expand the company worldwide and to grow it in terms of buying brands to put into the company, which we did. And it was just success after success at that point.
So what type of brands would you guys look for to bring in?
At the time, we were not big in the Scotch whiskey business. We were basically a Canadian liquor company with US brands. My job was to make it into the best-selling liquor company. Liquor at that point in time was Scotch whiskey. We didn't have very much, but I expanded into Chivas Regal, Glenlivet, all these major brands that are major brands today.
Yes.
And we became the biggest, if not the biggest, one of the certainly number 2 in the whiskey business.
That's wow.
And it was fun.
That's the key word, right?
For a Boston Irishman to be selling liquor, I mean, what more would I want?
You're living the dream. You get paid to drink and party, well, and do work, right?
Well, the wonderful thing was that Edgar Bronfman, the one thing about him, they had accrued quite a bit of family wealth. And the nice thing about my interview with him, it lasted 15 minutes. And he said, "Ed, if you do well by me, you will be comfortable for the rest of your life." And here I am, very comfortable.
Wow. That's amazing.
I stood up, literally, I stood up and shook his hand. I said, "It's a deal."
Yeah, right, exactly. What were some of the strategies that you used, that you implemented to grow Seagrams to what it is today?
Well, when I was hired by the Bronfman family, the company really was set up purely for US and Canadian based business. There was no international, really. And not only that, but a lot of the people that were working there had their jobs for years and really didn't have to perform. So it was a major upheaval that I had to go through of getting rid of a lot of people who had passed their prime and put in new, more success-oriented types, which is what I had to do. And it was a very tough time because being a family-run company, a lot of people just knew that they were set for life by working for the company.
Yeah.
And I had the tough break opportunity to lay them all off and bring in new people and really change the whole attitude of the business. And that's what happened. it was easy because we really were not pushing ourselves to be top performers at that point. And I have an attitude of work hard and have fun at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was also new to the company.
Okay.
So the net result was we worked hard, we had fun, and everybody was respected that was still there.
Uh-huh.
And the net result was Seagram became, without a doubt, the biggest high-end liquor company in the industry.
That's amazing. I mean, it's like it's important when you have that right team behind you and the right leadership, what amazing things can happen.
That's exactly it. But I had to, it was a major change for everybody. I had to treat everybody with respect
Mm-hmm.
and give everybody that was willing to change and make an effort to be on board.
Right.
And to be honest with you, it was the most fun time I ever had in business. Everybody that came on board felt like they were wanted and appreciated. And we had
Okay.
a major success.
Yeah. And that's a key word too that you just said was appreciated. You know, I think when your team members are appreciated, they want to work that much harder for you.
Absolutely. And the Bronfman family couldn't have been better in terms of supporting the efforts that we were making to grow the business. And the results speak for themselves. It was a total success.
Absolutely. So who is somebody that you looked up to as a business person? Like who were your idols?
My idols,
Yeah, like who kind of
well,
inspired you? Like in a way. Was there somebody in business before you went to Seagrams or at Seagrams that you were just kind of inspired by? Or somebody you wanted to be mentored by? Like who kind of inspired you?
that's a good question. I was just, a lot of it was self inspiration,
Uh-huh.
but I felt my way of managing was treat everybody with respect and demand what they could do, not what some pie in the sky ideas of what I wanted.
Yeah.
So it was a team effort, and my approach to managing something like Seagram was to have fun at the same time.
Yes.
And every day started out with a happy note. And the progress that we made was very quick because people want to be loved and respected and have fun. And
Yeah.
it worked out like I never saw before.
That's great. And that keyword really is fun. I mean, especially if we're working for a liquor company because liquor is fun. As long as you do it under the right circumstances.
Well,
In moderation.
In moderation, exactly.
I couldn't have asked for a better job, particularly being a Boston Irish Catholic.
Totally. So let's talk about your transition then. When you left, you went off to start your own distribution company, which was Premier Wine and Spirit. So what was the transition to that?
Well, what happened was Edgar Bronfman Jr. Was, because of family, made head of the company. So I had to step back.
Okay.
And he, unfortunately, he thought the music and theatrical businesses were much better than liquor. And we ended up doing the wrong things in terms of the priority we put on our liquor business. And the consequence was that the company had a very, very bad churn.
Oh, wow.
And unfortunately, family came first with the Bronfman family.
Mm-hmm.
So my voice didn't hold when it came to what I wanted to do, despite the fact of the success that they were thriving off of.
Right. So did he try to turn it into like an entertainment company?
Purely.
Oh, wow.
The first thing he did was tell me that we're going to sell off some of these liquor brands and buy Universal Studios, music companies, all businesses that we knew nothing about.
Oh, my God.
And the consequence showed up very quickly. After a very short period of months, we went from one of the most cash-rich companies on the New York Stock Exchange to a very bad financial situation. Music companies, they did everything wrong that you could possibly imagine. I mean, this was spearheaded by Edgar Bronfman Jr.
Wow.
because he honestly believed that he was doing the right thing. Sadly, the company was on the verge of bankruptcy within months,
Oh, my gosh.
and the company was sold after that. And that's why I left Seagram, because there was no future.
So who ended up buying Seagrams?
Several companies. It was broken up to the point where there was nothing. The company itself had lost all its success and leadership.
Wow.
So it ended up, we were selling brands. We didn't have a company to sell.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that was the reason that you went off on your own and decided to start your own.
Yes, it was a very, very sad situation. The saddest part of the whole thing was we had to lay off 4,600 employees at one school. And these are people who not only they had built their career around Seagram, but their families before them.
Right.
So it was second and third generation family members who all lost their jobs.
Oh my gosh.
It was financial disaster. This is no secret that I'm telling you. It's been published in several books. Well, when the curtain was coming down on Seagram, it was clear to me that there was many opportunities in the industry for the McDonnell plan to start their own business.
Yeah.
So and we had a good reputation within the industry. The team that I had built. So it was very easy for us to accumulate brands, and Premier Wine and Spirits became a very big success
That's great.
overnight.
And that company's it's still in business, right? Because I've seen it.
Well, no, I sold it all off.
But don't they still operate under that name?
Oh, there's a company that's listed under that name, yes.
Okay, but you did sell the company. What was it, 2012?
I sold it off
Okay.
because it was worth good money, and I decided to take life easy,
Yeah.
and I sold it off.
Good for you. And so you have
But this was after several years of getting that business going.
Oh, absolutely. No, I looked at your timeline in your book that we're going to talk about next. So it was 95 to 2012. That's when you sold it?
Yes, about that time.
Okay. So that was a good run you had there too.
Oh, couldn't have been more fun.
Yeah.
Everybody enjoyed working at the company, and we had some of the best brands in the industry. So it was just a fun, very successful, lucky business.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so what made you have a book coming out on November 2nd. What made you sit down and write this book?
My family members, when I sold off most of my investment in the company.
Okay.
And I was just having fun, and my children asked me, why don't I write a book? It was doing the problems that we're encountering now.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be fun. It was a tough time, as we all know, to be trying to do business. But I had a blast in writing that book. Prepare yourself to be lucky, because that's my theme song. My whole business career, I considered a very lucky experience. I mean, when you think I was born to poor immigrants from Ireland who didn't have a dime to their name.
Uh-huh.
And I, all of a sudden, did very well. And my kids said to me when I write this book, and it's really to help young people take a look at their life and figure out how to succeed. And also to be good business people.
Yeah.
So I wrote the book so that young students would pay attention and take some advice from a has-been like myself.
Yeah. Well, I love the title of the book, which is prepare yourself to be lucky, because it's that old thing where luck is really when preparedness meets opportunity.
There you go. That's the right way to say it.
Yeah, so it's great because it is true. Like some people, if they pass somebody who's got a really big house or a really nice car and they say, "Oh, must be nice, they're really lucky." Well, luck is such a fraction of it. It's the opportunities they created by putting themselves in the situations and studying and doing what they had to do to get to that point. So this is such a great topic for a book.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but I was giving scholarships to good students at Suffolk University
Oh, nice.
for
International.
for 25 years,
Good for you. That's awesome.
and I would give speeches to the Suffolk students, and I just had a ball. When you're as lucky as I was in business and making a very comfortable amount of money,
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a nice thing to do than to help young people, give them some lucky breaks and make a success of themselves. And it works.
Yeah.
And it's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of different chapters. I looked at your book, a lot of different chapters that you have. And one of the chapters was do the right thing,
Well,
which is obvious, right? Like you always want to do the right thing. But why, in your opinion, do you think that so many businessmen and women get sucked down a path of corruption? Like, why do we see that so much?
I'm not so sure there's a lot of people that get into corrupt activities.
Well, there's not a lot, but you hear about it.
Yes, you do hear about it.
Where you're
But, I focus on people that are straightforward and honest,
yeah,
and want to make an honest living, and that's the whole theme of my offering scholarships and monies to universities, and I just enjoy seeing my money being spent on the right things, which is people that need a break, need financial assistance
yeah,
that I can help.
that's great. It's the way to be, right? Help those
Well,
less fortunate than you.
it's fun, and I feel good about what I'm doing,
You should.
and I'm happy that I'm able to do it. When I started out, I had nothing.
Yeah.
Irish. Tell the lace skirt in Irish.
My daughter said something about lace curtain Irish.
Yeah.
We were one toilet Irish. I don't know if you know how that progresses.
Okay. I haven't heard
My
that.
mother and father were immigrants.
Uh-huh.
They came from Ireland 4 years apart, met in Boston, got married, and had 4 children. It was a tough I wanted to be a success. And I had gone to Boston Latin School, and which was out of the territory where I lived. And I had realized that my life was nowhere near what these people had achieved for their children. And I wanted to be successful. So I ended up helping as many people as I could.
Yeah.
For 25 years, I've given scholarships to students at Suffolk University, which makes me feel very good that I can do that,
Yeah.
and how much these students appreciate it.
Oh, because college is so expensive now.
Ooh,
I mean, how can anyone afford to go to school anymore? It's crazy.
well, my background, after I graduated from high school, I told my father, at that time, they were still drafting people in the Army.
Uh-huh.
I told my father that I wanted to go in the Army and get the GI Bill so I could go to college. And my father's reaction, which you would never hear of today, was, what in the hell do you want to go to college for? You go and get yourself a job at the corner drugstore, grocery store. That was the mentality I dealt with.
Wow.
But I did what I wanted. I did go in the Army for 2 years, got the GI Bill, and that's how I got into Suffolk University.
Good for you.
Without that, I could not have gone to college.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all lucky. I don't know, there is no such thing as a GI Bill today, but that's a crime. I mean, most of the kids I knew when I was in school, they were in the same boat as myself, desperate for government assistance, which without it, we couldn't have gone to college.
Yeah. No,
But
and it's just crazy what the prices are, even what the prices keep going up today. I mean, it's insane.
I don't know how, I don't know if there's such a thing as a GI Bill today, but
No. I think I think if you're in the Army, you get your school paid for, but you have to do a certain amount of time, so you don't go straight through.
it's more like 4 years instead.
Yeah,
All I had to do was 2 years in the Army, and I got 4 years of college education out of it.
that was very smart of you.
Well, my father didn't think so, but
Different generations, right?
well, it was just a mentality that, what in the hell do you want to go to college for? Go out and get yourself a job.
Yeah.
And it was tough, but I must say, I've seen my father cry twice. Once when I told him that I was going to go in the Army to get the GI Bill and go to college, he cried.
Oh,
It broke his heart that I wasn't going to go out and get a job.
oh wow.
But he didn't know any better.
Yeah.
The second time I saw him cry, when I graduated from college.
Oh,
He was so proud.
isn't that great?
It was very true. Yeah. But it was a different world back then, as you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So in your book, you talked about a snowstorm, how you were there was a snowstorm that changed your life.
Well,
What was that about?
that's all to do with my attitude that prepare yourself to be lucky.
Uh-huh.
I'm one of the luckiest people in the world. I came from nothing
Yeah.
and very, very comfortable at the moment.
Tell the snowstorm.
Huh?
Tell about the snowstorm.
Well, here's the snowstorm story.
What happened was I was working, this was after I graduated from college. I was working for General Foods, which was a big food company at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is today. And one day I was working for General Foods. I was headed up the business that was responsible for analyzing all of General Foods international companies and assessing them. And I had gotten that good job. And then one day in a snowstorm, I walked out of the General Foods building and I saw the president of the company couldn't get his car started. So I went over and I said, Mr. Bremser, can I help you? He said, yes, if you can get my damn car started so I can go home. Well, I couldn't get his car started, but I volunteered to drive him home because I went through, he lived in Connecticut in a very nice area, which I drove through to get to my house.
Uh-huh.
And we got stuck on the Merritt Parkway for 3 hours because of the storm. And we got talking and he said, kid, tell me what you do for the company. And I told him I'm the analyst for our international business. He said, well, that's interesting. Tell me what you think of our international business. So we had 3 hours, which I didn't realize at the time. And I just rattled off one company after another, what the good parts were, what the bad parts were, which companies were doing terrible, what we could do to straighten them out. And he was just stunned by this young kid telling him all these things about their international businesses. So the following Monday, that was a Friday evening, I got a call from the president of the company asking me to come down and talk to him.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, what in the hell did I do wrong when I told him about how bad some of the companies were, why they were bad? And he said, young man, I enjoyed our conversation in the car the other day, and I would like you to be my assistant. Now, to be assistant to the president of General Foods at that age, generally you had to be a Harvard Ivy League college graduate. You had to be over 6 foot tall, Protestant. I was none of the above. And he said, I want you to be my assistant for the next year. And then I
Wow.
want you to go on, which I did. And I mean, it was a joke of the company for people with my background that Ed McDonnell, the first Irish Catholic, non-Ivy League school graduate,
That's
was going
amazing.
to be assistant to the president.
Isn't that amazing though, how certain things just work, certain things happen that really kind of change everything else?
Well, if I had gone out to get into my car 5 minutes later, I would have
Right?
missed him. And that's about luck.
Yes.
I was at the right place at the right time, and we got stuck on for 3 hours on the parkway, and we had nothing else to discuss other than what I thought of our international business, because that's all I knew about the company.
That's great.
And he was just so impressed. The next thing I know, young Ed McDonnell is assistant to the president of the company.
That's great. That is great. So what are some other some of your favorite kind of parts of the book that like what are kind of like your tips for being prepared to be lucky?
Well, preparing yourself to be lucky is very simple. It means working like hell,
Mm-hmm.
be good to people, respect people, and do your best.
Yeah.
And that's what makes you successful and lucky.
Yeah, it's true. There's, no matter what job you have, even if it's not the job that you want to end up with, to do the best job you can do.
That's right. And be helpful to people.
Yes.
But I was always very helpful to everybody around me. And I had a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
And that's what makes success. And that's what makes you lucky.
Yes. No, absolutely. So when is the book's going to be out? November 2nd? Is that correct?
I believe that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know where it'll be available?
Amazon. See, Amazon.
Amazon is
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble. It's I'm surprised, to be honest with you.
I think it's great and so well deserved.
I wrote this book not with any ambitions behind it other than enjoy writing about it. And it's turned out to, even though it hasn't been out very long, it's amazing to me how much interest people have in it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I reread it this morning.
Oh, did you?
To convince myself that it's really worth reading, and it is.
Well, I mean, you're such an business icon. You were the man that built Seagrams to one of the most successful companies. Unfortunately, it went down, but you were able to kind of pivot off that, and people look up to that, admire that, and I think it's going to be great for current business leaders and also kids that look up to you to kind of have a platform, like a guide almost,
Well, that's hopefully it's written so that young people that need a break will read it and take the advice that I give.
Yeah.
And the advice boils down to being smart enough to be lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Smart and responsible, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, good. Okay, so this was great. So you guys, definitely go and check out on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Definitely pick yourself up a copy of this book and read it. Prepare yourself to be lucky. I can't wait to get my hands on it and read the whole thing. I've read some parts of it, so I'm excited to get that read. And maybe you'll give me an autographed copy. I always like my guests to sign my books.
I'm sure my daughter will see to it that you get a copy.
Perfect. An autographed copy. This was great. This was so great. Ed, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, and everyone listening, wherever you're listening, thank you so much for tuning into another episode.
Well, my pleasure talking with you. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.